Week 2 was absolute cinema. What's up, everybody? Well, God bless. I hope you all are having a great week. And with that, let's get right into it. Let's start off with the LA Rams. This is definitely a borderline elite team. I wouldn't quite put them in the top 5 yet because I still don't quite trust this team, but they had a very dominant win over the Tennessee Titans on Sunday, so we got to confidently put them in this tier. Seahawks, it's kind of weird, but I'm going to put them in the good but not great tier. Like, they beat the Steelers, and the Steelers are a somewhat good team, but I'm not quite ready to put them in the borderline elite tier yet. Giants, I'm actually going to put them in the bad tier. Last week they were in tanking, so you guys are not tanking anymore. Whether if you guys think that's a good thing or not, you guys got to tell me. But the Giants showed a lot of promise in their loss to Dallas last week, and it was one of the best games of the entire week. Heck, it was probably the best game of the entire week, and the Giants showed a lot of promise in that game. Bengals, I'm gonna have to put them in mid. And the reason I'm putting them in mid is because Joe Burrow is now out for 3 months. And no matter how you put it, he is their starting QB. And without him, it's just not a great situation they've got there at quarterback. Jake Browning is not the guy that I would think would move the needle for this team that well. Atlanta Falcons, good, not great. And I think the reason for this is I think for Atlanta, this season is about winning football games and seeing if Michael Penix is your guy. And I think Michael Penix looked fine against the Vikings, and I think the Vikings couldn't really do anything, which is a good sign for Atlanta. But I think there's still a lot of room for this team to grow. New York Jets. Yeah, we're going to have to put them back down in bad. The Jets looked pretty good against the Steelers, but their performance against Buffalo, who is like a top 5 contender team, was just absolutely horrendous. So because of that, I'm going to have to put them back down in bad. And Justin Fields took a big step back after his good performance in week 1 against Pittsburgh as well. And he also got injured, which is another thing that's kind of concerning for the Jets, and they're going to have Tyrod Taylor as their starter next week, which is not a good thing. Cleveland Browns, yeah, they're tanking. This is a genuinely tanking team. They got absolutely manhandled by Baltimore on Sunday, and I think it's just a testament to how bad this team actually is. It's very clear that Joe Flacco is not going to have that revival season that he had a couple years ago with this same team. And it's for them just trying to figure out who's good and just preparing and tanking for the NFL draft. The Las Vegas Raiders, good but not great. I'm not going to drop them a tier because even though they got mostly beaten pretty good by the Chargers, they still played okay. Like, Brock Bowers is still a really good tight end, and I think there's places where they can build. And I don't think that this is a disastrous loss for them losing to the Chargers. Baltimore Ravens top 5. Like, they lost to the Bills in the first week, and that was pretty bad. But the Ravens had a nice bounce back win, and they're kind of like Detroit. Like, they're a top 5 team that had a bounce back win this week, and I think that's really all you can ask for Baltimore. Washington Commanders, borderline elite. I think for the Commanders, the problem for them is that they got an injury for Jaden Daniels. So Marcus Mariota is going to have to come in. And I'm not going to drop them too far. Now that I think about it, I'm probably going to put them in the good but not great tier simply because Jaden Daniels is not playing this week. But I think there's still room for this Washington Commanders team to continue to grow, even with Jaden Daniels being out for a little bit. Oh boy, Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to actually put them in good but not great and slightly above Washington. And what is happening in KC? Like, they should at least be 1-1 by now, if not 2-0. It's just it doesn't seem like things are clicking in KC right now. Their wide receivers are out, which I get that, but Kelsey's also not playing that well. Mahomes is playing pretty good for his standards, but they're still not living up to what they should be. And they have been the biggest disappointment of the first 2 weeks, in my opinion. New Orleans Saints, they're tanking. The Saints continue to be competitive without actually winning games. And I think that's all you can ask for the New Orleans Saints. And I think it's the one thing that's keeping them from the bottom of the barrel right now. The New England Patriots. I'm going to put them in bad, but right now they're actually the best of the bad tier because they actually beat the Dolphins, and I know it was like kind of a shootout, but the Patriots proved they've got some grit and that they can battle through adversity, and I really love to see that. Miami Dolphins, yeah, they're tanking. They're a little better than the Browns, but I don't think they're as good as the Saints. And I don't get what's going on in Miami right now. Like this team has a lot of talent. They've got Tua, they've got Tyreek, they've got Jalen Waddle, they have Devon Achane, they have all this talent, but it's not working. And a lot of people have said it's because coaching, and I think that's also a big reason. I think this season they need to figure out who they need to get rid of and who they should keep. And if they can do that, then this season will be not a completely lost cause. Green Bay Packers top 5. Like this is genuinely like a top 2 team in football right now in my opinion. And I'm genuinely not kidding when I say that. They actually look like the best team after their wins against the Lions and Commanders, who coming into the season we both thought were top 10 teams and who I still kind of think are top 10 teams. Like the Commanders are injured, which is why they're lower, but I still think that the Packers have made a statement by coming out and being dominant against 2 top 10 opponents in their first 2 weeks. The Denver Broncos, good but not great. I'm going to put them above Washington but not above KC. And I think for this team, the fact that they lost that game is just like kind of embarrassing. I'm gonna be completely honest. It's like slightly embarrassing. And I think for this team, they need to prove that they can bounce back from a bad loss like this one was. If they can bounce back, continue to win games, and finally get their offense going, then they'll be perfectly fine. The Philadelphia Eagles, top 5. Now, I think for the Eagles, they went out and they've beaten two okay. They beat an okay team in the Dallas Cowboys in week 1. And then they went out and they beat an actual team in the Kansas City Chiefs. And it hasn't been pretty so far, but they've gotten the job done. And I think that is enough for them. The Indianapolis Colts. I'm actually going to put them in the borderline elite tier. Like, they have come out and they have just played really good football. And that's really surprising to me because Indiana Jones is their QB. And I think they should not be as good as they are right now. But they've just been playing really good football. They've beaten the Broncos, they demolished the Dolphins, and showed everybody how bad they truly are. And I think the Colts are a sneaky contender to win the South this year. Heck, they're probably the favorite to win the South right now. The Arizona Cardinals, I'm going to put them in the mid tier because really their first 2 weeks are not that impressive because they've kind of just gone out and beaten the bad teams that are on their schedule. We've seen teams do that before. They've kind of just been given an easy schedule to start their season. And sooner or later, that easy schedule is going to come to an end, and they're going to have to showcase that they're actually a good team. The Carolina Panthers, they're in the bad tier. And I think the Panthers, I had high expectations for this team. I was thinking if Bryce Young could continue to develop, they could be a good team. But they've come out and against 2 mediocre teams, they really haven't done anything. They lost to the Jaguars and they lost to the Cardinals. And it's not really great vibes in Carolina right now. Chicago Bears bad. That loss to Detroit just they were completely embarrassed on all fronts against Detroit. They were no match for a much superior team. And no, I'm not just saying that because I'm a Lions fan. They were just completely beaten and they were beaten hard. The Pittsburgh Steelers, good but not great. I think the Steelers, I mean, they lost to the Seahawks, which is like not good news, of course. You never want to lose. But I think Aaron Rodgers stepped back a little bit from his great performance against the Jets. And I think if they can show that the Seahawks game is not a sign of things to come, they'll be fine. But they really need to get it going a little bit more. The Houston Texans. I'm going to actually put this team in mid because the problem for Houston, and we all see it now, is they have no offensive line. They really need an offensive line. That was the main reason they lost to Tampa Bay last week. I mean, not having a defense on the final drive hurts too. But like they really, really just need to actually get an offensive line. And I don't get the offseason moves they made by trading away Laramie Tunsil because I think they could have really used Laramie Tunsil with how bad their offensive line is. The Tennessee Titans bad. I think they're above the Giants and the Bears, but I'm not sure they're quite as good as the Panthers. And the Titans have shown some promise. Like Cam Ward has been good, And I think if Cam Ward continues to be good, I think the Titans will consider this season a win. That's just the way I see it for this team. Minnesota Vikings, mid. Like, this team looked extremely mediocre in their loss to the Falcons, mostly because they had basically no offense. JJ McCarthy didn't look that great. He looked pretty good in the fourth quarter of the Bears game, but that's basically it for him so far this season. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm going to put them in mid. I think they're at the very bottom of mid, but I think they are in the mid tier right now. Like, they came out and they were competitive against Cincinnati, and I think that's really all you can ask for this team. And yeah, they beat the Panthers in week 1, which wasn't that impressive, but they were competitive against the Bengals. Now, they really should have won that game. Like, Joe Burrow left that game, and that should have been where the Jaguars were like, okay, we've got this game now. We just need to lock down Jake Browning. But that didn't really happen. And so I'm not quite sure where this team is at right now. San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to put them in the good but not great tier. I think they're right behind the Seahawks, though. I just got to get them over there. And I think for this 49ers team, they've actually shown some decent promise. Like, yeah, they don't have their QB Brock Purdy, and they've got Mac Jones at QB, but somehow they're still 2-0. And I think the sooner they get Brock Purdy back, the sooner they'll be a playoff contender again. Buffalo Bills, top 5. And I think this is the number 1 team in football right now. If you had to ask me, I would say Buffalo is the number 1 team in football right now. And I say that because the Bills, they showed resilience by coming back and beating Baltimore, and then they dominated the bad teams that they needed to beat on their schedule. In this case, it was the Jets. And I think the Bills look like, in my opinion, the Super Bowl favorite right now. Dallas Cowboys. I'm gonna put them in mid, above the Vikings and Jaguars, but that's about it. Because let's be honest, that game should not have been as close in that game as it was. I mean, it was a phenomenal game. It was a lot of fun to watch, but it should not have been that close. It's against the Giants. Like, come on, let's be a little bit better here, Dallas. Let's see. Los Angeles Chargers, borderline elite. I think they're at the top of borderline elite in my opinion. But this actually looks like a genuinely like top tier team. Like they've beaten their division rivals and this actually looks like a really tough division and they've come out and they've solidified we can run this division. Now they just got to defend the division crown that they right now have secured. Detroit Lions, top 5. I'm going to put them in the top 5 because I'm biased. How about that? Let's just go with that. All right, let's move on. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to end off this video, borderline elite. I think they're probably around the top of this tier, if I had to guess. But the Buccaneers showed a lot of resilience in a very defensive battle against Houston. And Baker Mayfield delivered in the last drive of another game this season. And I think that's really all you can ask for is just a team that continues to come up clutch when it matters most. But this is the tier list. If you want to officially rank the teams from worst to first, here we go. Number 32, Cleveland Browns. 31, Miami Dolphins. 30, New Orleans Saints. 29, Chicago Bears. 28, New York Giants. 27, Tennessee Titans. 26, Carolina Panthers. 25, New York Jets. 24, New England Patriots. 23, Jacksonville Jaguars. 22, Minnesota Vikings. 21, Dallas Cowboys. 20, Arizona Cardinals. 19, Houston Texans. 18, Cincinnati Bengals. 17, Washington Commanders. 16, Pittsburgh Steelers. 15, Denver Broncos. 14, Kansas City Chiefs. 13, Las Vegas Raiders. 12, Atlanta Falcons. 11, San Francisco 49ers. 10, Seattle Seahawks. 9, Indianapolis Colts. 8, Los Angeles Rams. 7, Los Angeles Chargers. 6, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 5, Detroit Lions. 4, Baltimore Ravens. 3, Philadelphia Eagles. 2, Green Bay Packers. And 1, Buffalo Bills. But Jesus loves you. God bless. And with that, peace!